Good evening. Amidst the whispers of Ceará's sertão, there exists a truth that for decades was suppressed, closely guarded by those who dared to witness it. This is not just any legend, but a palpable terror, a creature that, on full moon nights, left a trail of fear and mystery in Canindé. This is the story of the beast of Canindé, and the truth they tried to conceal. The first signs of the unexplained, 1985-1990. In the early 1980s, Canindé, a town renowned for its faith and pilgrimages, began to live under a shadow of apprehension. It wasn't drought, nor disease, but something far more insidious. Small animals, chickens, pigs, dogs, started appearing dead on the surrounding rural properties. The carcasses were brutally mutilated, with injuries that didn't fit the pattern of attacks by jaguars or wild dogs. The older residents, with a glimmer of apprehension in their eyes, began to whisper about things that moved very quickly in the darkness, with red eyes and a deep growl. José, a 25-year-old young farmer, had always been skeptical. He attributed the attacks to some puma that had descended from the mountains. But the frequency and brutality of the attacks were unusual. In 1987, the situation escalated when larger livestock began to disappear. A heifer was found on his property, with a broken neck and deep claw marks on its chest, as if it had been struck by something of immense force. That night, he and his wife swore they heard a howl that made the hairs on their arms stand on end, a sound that was both human and animalistic, coming from the dense forest surrounding the farm. Local authorities, in an attempt to calm the population, spoke of jaguars, but the inconsistency of the attacks and the lack of concrete evidence began to generate distrust. A strange silence settled over the town, where windows closed earlier and whispered conversations intensified in the taverns. The truth, however, was just beginning to manifest. So before you get all comfy, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I'm doing here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now turn off the lights, maybe switch on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's dive together into today's story. Terror intensifies and silenced testimonies. 1995-2005. The 1990s brought with them a more direct and undeniable terror. It was no longer just animals. Isolated reports of encounters with a hunchbacked, furry shadow began to circulate. In 1997, the story of José Maria, which would become a landmark in local folklore, echoed through the streets of Canindé. He, a disbelieving young man, encountered a hybrid creature on the trail, with glowing eyes and sharp claws, carrying a piece of his missing friend Manuel's checkered shirt. The terror José Maria experienced, and the hoarse phrase, "You shouldn't be here," uttered by the creature, became part of the collective nightmare. What the authorities and local press tried to silence was that José Maria was not the only one. In 2002, an entire family who moved to a secluded farm near BR020, not far from Canindé, lived a private hell. They reported that the nights were marked by growls that seemed to come from inside the walls, scratches on the roof, and a nauseating smell that permeated the house. The family dog, a Rottweiler, was found dead with its neck broken and inhuman claw marks on the door. The family fled without taking anything, terrified, and never spoke publicly again. The case was filed as vandalism and wild animal attack, but the neighbors, in their own whispers, knew the truth. The truth they tried to hide was not just the existence of the beast, but the omission. Rumors circulated that an influential farmer in the region, a man named Raimundo, had made a dark pact to protect his lands from bankruptcy. It was said that the pact demanded something in return, and that on full moon nights, Raimundo, or something he had invoked, took on a bestial form to hunt in the wild. The 7 people who disappeared in less than a decade, always on full moon nights, were no coincidence. Their disappearances were proof that the beast of Canindé did not kill out of hunger but out of vengeance or sacrifice. The truth endures and new witnesses, 2015 onwards. Despite efforts to suppress the events, The truth of the beast of Canindé persists, manifesting through new testimonies that reinforce the narrative. In 2015, Dona Lucia, an experienced truck driver, had her own chilling encounter on BR-02, the same stretch where the family had been terrorized. She saw a tall figure, larger than a man, with eyes that glowed like red headlights. The creature did not flee. It stood still, staring. When Lucia tried to call for help on the radio, the hoarse voice familiar to Zé Maria echoed, "You shouldn't be here." Lucia accelerated, but swore the creature ran alongside the truck for several seconds, keeping pace, before disappearing into the brush. Her explanation for not being attacked? I prayed. And sometimes faith is the only thing that separates us from what lives in the darkness. What unites these stories is not just the location or the creature, but the warning. You shouldn't be here. This phrase, repeated by witnesses separated by nearly 20 years, suggests that the beast does not act randomly. It marks its territory, perhaps protecting an even greater secret, or someone. The elders of Canindé say that the sertão, with its dense forests and ancient secrets, hides more than we can imagine. The beast is a living reminder that there are forces that defy science, logic, and even our understanding of what is possible. The truth is that local authorities may have tried to hide, suppress, or ignore it, but the memory of what happened in Canindé lives on in the stories told in dim light, in the apprehensive glances on full moon nights, and in the heavy silence that descends upon the roads and trails of the sertão. The beast of Canindé exists, and it is waiting. Good night.